evening and welcome to the Cat's Whiskers Weekend Preview Podcast Live. And yes, it definitely is live because I forgot to unmute myself for the introduction. So it's late, but we are here and we are previewing the upcoming weekend. No Elite League action this weekend, so we'll be talking Continental Cup, but we may find some time to discuss those very controversial DoPS decisions that have had Twitter feeds screaming from various quarters of the Elite League. And to join me talking about all of that tonight, he's come out of hibernation. It's Paul Balm. Or is it Paul Balm?
Hello.
Well, we'll come to that in a second. Again, we're live, but I also do have Antoine Marie-Jeanne.
You've dragged my ass out of cold storage again, yeah. Hello, everybody.
Absolutely. Right,
can you hear us?
Well, I hope somebody can hear us. Otherwise, I've done something seriously wrong. Right, so I shall try and work out what's happened to Paul. But in the meantime, yes, Panthers are going to be taking on European opposition this weekend. The very first thing I'm going to do, actually, we've had an interview sent over to us from Jono, who's actually working over there with 24/7 TV, and he's managed to speak to Aaron Murphy and Paul Adey.
Welcome to Jaca in Spain. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Paul Adey and Aaron Murphy, who'll be the Premier Sports commentary team for the Continental Cup on Premier Sports this weekend. So, Murph, I'll start with you. What a backdrop to have the competition in.
Yeah, magnificent, really cool arena, isn't it? I mean, you saw pictures when it's built into the mountain here, view of the Pyrenees. I mean, there's golden eagles flying overhead. It's quite impressive. Hopefully the performance by the Panthers will be impressive inside the arena, and you'd have to think it will be. In the research I did, all things would point to the Panthers being able to handle especially the Spanish and the Turkish entrants on Friday and Saturday. The main competition should come from the Latvian side on Sunday.
Paul, that's a pretty fair assumption. We was talking earlier and we said that Panthers are probably quite hot favourites for this competition, but that Latvian team is probably one that's got to be watched.
Yeah, they're really unknown. I mean, it's hard to say just what level will they play at. I mean, it's a bit of a mystery right now, but it's still a game that the Panthers are going to have to be careful with because they are, I believe, still a quality side. I mean, the Panthers with their lineup should go through this qualification quite easily, but it's when you take teams lightly that's when you get stung a bit. So I think in the first two games, if they don't even have a good game, I think they could win those games. But in the third one, they're going to have to play a decent game to win it.
And Murph, how's your research gone? Because obviously Spanish and Turkish hockey, not known as real hotbeds of the sport. And so how you found it?
Well, it's certainly taken me longer than, say, researching a Swedish Hockey League game or a Champions Hockey League game or even an Elite League game for that matter. I have got what I need so far. The problem is that on that website it was start list, which means there's 30 guys on there. There will only be 20 or 22 that will actually make the roster. So you're researching 8 or 9 players, and that information is never going to see the light of day. It's out there, a little bit more digging. Maybe it took me twice as long as a Swedish Hockey League game, but that's the magnificent thing about hockey. The information is out there, and so the research has been a little bit tougher, but the games will tell the story itself, and I think the story, as Paul said, even in a bad game, the Panthers should win the first 2. The challenge will come down to Sunday. That's always nice, right? Having the penultimate, the final, as the big one.
I mean, Paul, what do you expect from the Turkish and Spanish teams?
I don't think they're going to be all that strong, to be honest with you. I mean, the Spanish team, I think they'll really struggle against the Panthers. And I think the team from Istanbul, unless they have some Russians in their lineup or, some dual nationals, I think they'll get clobbered too. But it's going to depend also, where the Panthers are mentally for these two games. Because you go into these games where you're the better team, you should win by 5+ goals, and then sometimes you don't play as well. So that will be a bit of the tricky bit for the Panthers. But in the third and final game, which should be the deciding game, I think the Panthers will be ready for that one.
Gents, I want to thank you very much for your time. Enjoy the competition.
Thanks, Jono.
Thank you, Jono.
Many thanks to Paul Adey and Aaron Murphy for joining Jono there and just giving their thoughts on the upcoming weekend. And just while we furiously try and get Paul back in on the podcast, unfortunately, I'm having an absolute mare again while Jono is away. He's going to sack me. I think I'm about to get fired. Well,
if he wants to gallivant all around the world, he's got to get some capable people to fill in for him. So
yes,
God knows what he's doing with us.
He'll learn one day, won't he? Right. Okay. So we'll take the games in order of how we're going to be facing them. So Friday sees a 7 p.m. face-off, I believe, unless anybody wants to correct me, against the hosts Jaca. It's been, like Murphy said in his interview, it has been absolutely hellish trying to get any kind of statistics or information, about the teams that we're going to be playing. I mean, for me personally, Jaca was probably the hardest to find anything out about at all. So, Ant, before I sort of launch into any other little bits of stats that I may have found out, what do you know?
Probably about as much as you do, to be honest. I've had a look through their website, see if there's any players that I recognise. There isn't. I noticed the 4 imports that they've got. They've got 3 Canadians and an American, Canadian goalkeeper. Goaltender. If his stats are right on Eurohockey.com, he's got a save percentage of 0.851% and a goals against average 3.59%. So if that's the case, then and he's starting tomorrow night, then surely just shoot at every possible opportunity and put in the rebounds. Yes, I mean with a save percentage like that, I think an elite league goaltender would be thoroughly disappointed with that. So if any of our 2 starters, and even probably to a certain extent Dan Green, I think it's I think you're right. I think definitely shoot the puck is probably the way forward. So I mean, all I've sort of managed to find out. They've what I've managed to find out was on the EIHF website, and as Murph said, that's your sort of starting players, and that's not necessarily all the players that you're going to be taking to a tournament like this. Current season results that they've had so far, though, in their 5-team Spanish league, they have won 5, lost none, goals for 45 and goals 13 against. Goals against 13. So a good result, good start to their season, I would say. Yeah, well, they've won the last 2 games 17-2 and 12-1, and I see they've done something that City couldn't do, and that's beat Barcelona. So well done to them. Yeah, definitely well done to them. Right, so still struggling to find Paul, unfortunately. So we'll, if he's got anything to say about Jaca, then we'll certainly head back over that way. But we'll move on to Saturday's game, which is Panthers, and I am definitely going to get this pronunciation wrong. Zeytinburnu of Turkey. Now that's a 3:30 p.m. face-off. Our time. There's sort of a brief history of the team. Now, I found this a little bit fascinating. They were actually a team that were created in order to improve. I forget how they said it. It was like a social responsibility project. Basically, you took in some stuff to the rink, and that was recyclable, and you got like a half an hour skating session or something, and it proved very popular with the street kids there, and it was the kids that actually formed the basis of the ice hockey team. So that's sort of where they started, and from there they've sort of grown on to become a semi-pro team. Now, again, I managed to find a few stats here and there. Haven't managed to find anything from the current season. I mean, I don't know if they've actually played anything yet. I don't know if you might have more on that than me, Ant. Yeah, they don't actually start their season till December. Ah, right. Well, that'll be why I can't find anything then. The Turkish season seems to run December to June. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe they have a sort of a late summer. I don't know. I mean. It's a bit of an odd one. Trying to find anything for
any of these teams has been very interesting. But I mean, they do seem to have playoffs though, which seems to work well for them. They have like a best of 5 playoff series by the looks of things. That they have a semi-final series and a final series, and they have some absolutely ridiculous score lines going on in their in their league. I mean, they're not afraid to run up the score. I mean, there's sort of 15 ones and 21 twos in their season, I think. So it was it made for some interesting sums when I was sort of putting that together. But yeah, essentially their final series, the best of 4, they won 3, lost 2. Goals for 31, goals against 26, which was quite modest against their regular season of goals for 136 and goals against of 20. I know, absolutely startling stat. Anything that you know about them that I may not have already mentioned, Ant?
No, they beat HC Bat Yam 19-2 in the last game of the last round of the Continental Cup, so they're going to score some goals. They have an American listed on their roster. He's a defenseman who used to play for Boston. That's the Boston Bulldogs, not the Bruins. I love tournaments like this because they bring out teams and players, and I do not envy Murph or AD or Jono or Rob, who's doing the Panthers Hockey Live coverage. I don't envy them trying to commentate on these games at all this weekend. But have fun, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Good luck, because I think you're going to need it. Paul, have we got you back?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Can just about hear you, Paul.
Could just about hear you. You're going to have to shout, unfortunately.
I know what you're talking about.
Wow, this is going to be fun. Right, okay. Yeah, sorry. One thing I was going to say about the Turkish team, when it was announced that there was a Turkish team going to be joining us in our tournament, I did that horrible thing of, wow, they play hockey in Turkey, and I think that's that's something that people would say about us not so many years ago. So I've sort of fallen into that trap of hockey superiority, I think. Would you agree with that, Ant?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, Turkish hockey is not known for anything. I only know about Spanish hockey because we played Bipolo in the last Continental Cup, and obviously they're not with us anymore. So yeah, I can't wait to watch the games on Premier Sports, I must admit, see what the standards are like. If I'm honest, over an average of games, each one, and Green starting against Packle.
Going really well, isn't it?
Right, yes, and I think we may or may not have lost Ant their full flow. He did a bit. Unfortunately, we were late on because he was having internet problems, so I'm not entirely surprised by that. Right, okay. I think I'm going to have to throw in the towel here because unfortunately, Paul, I can hardly hear you. So I suspect that the wider masses are also struggling. So I think we're going to have a quick regroup and then see if we can get ourselves back online. So don't go too far, folks. We'll endeavour to be back on again soon. Right, we're back for as long as it lets us. Let's get cracking on with some hockey talk before another technical gremlin comes to take over. Hopefully, I've still got Paul Balm. Paul, please tell me that you're there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hurrah! Thank God for that. I knew. I had a minor heart attack when you didn't say anything.
I just thought I'd be cruel.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me at all. Unfortunately, we have lost Ant. His internet has just gone. It's decided to completely desert him. So thank you very much for being available, Ant. And if there's any way that you do get back online, I shall definitely try and patch you back in so that you can continue with your very valuable contribution to the show. Right, Paul. Seeing as though you didn't get to make any contribution to anything that we've talked about so far, we'll start at the beginning almost. So yes, Jaca, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've never been, so I don't know.
Apparently, it's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a big. I know it's got a big castle that's home to a colony of rock sparrows. If that helps.
Well, Murph did say he'd seen golden eagles. So yeah, birds seem to be a thing up there.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, its slogan is, it translates to the capital of snow. So, it's a sort of gateway to a sort of winter sports area, isn't it?
Well,
I've been reading Wikipedia.
You'd like to think so, yeah. You'd like to think so. So yes, as I was saying to Ant, I'm not quite sure how much of it you heard.
No.
But well, that's fine, and I can tell you about it all again. Yes. So the only thing I've managed to find out about the team itself was a 2-sentence Wikipedia entry, and the team sheet as it is on the EIHL website. Now that's got listed in a whole heap of players that probably aren't all going to be in the tournament. So you sort of picking bits and bobs out that you think might happen. So yes, they're listed as having 3 netminders. 2 are Spanish and 1 is from the USA. You'd like to think that they've brought in the USA netminder. I think Ant was saying he's got something like an 8.5 save percentage, which would be a little bit disappointing for an elite league netminder, you would think.
You would do, yeah, but we're talking in the main about a very different sort of standard, I guess, and league setup as well. I mean, I think looking at elite prospects, I think they only played about 15 games or something last season, and 3 of those were in the in the Continental Cup.
Yeah, so I mean, they're a 5-team league, so 15 games would probably be about right. So I mean, the current season results that I managed to pick up, they've won 5, they haven't lost any, goals for of 45 and goals against of 13. So they seem to be
they know where the net is, then, don't they?
Yeah, they know where the net is. So we will have to be watching for the pucks coming in, but you'd like to think that we can handle them, I would have thought.
You would hope so, yeah. I mean, you think, a couple of years back we played Bipolo, and although I think Corey Nielsen enjoyed it all that much, we saw it. We got an idea of the sort of standard that that there is in Spain.
Yes, yeah. So obviously, I don't think any of the teams are to be taken lightly, but as Murph and Paul Adey both said, they think that the main threat is probably coming on Sunday from the Latvians. So as long as Panthers can play their game, we're probably favourites to at least take it through to the final game with
I'd have thought so. I think if you look at the relative stats, the relative comparisons, then that's going to be the deciding game. And I mean, and if it's as good as the game against Riga again in that tournament a couple of seasons ago, that was probably one of the sort of the best games we actually saw that season. I mean, all right, it wasn't a season where we saw that much quality, but that was as good a game as definitely as good a game as we saw that season, and probably in plenty of other ones as well.
Yes, yeah, very much so. I mean, that was I believe that was Riga Juniors, wasn't it? It wasn't the obviously wasn't the senior team, because I don't know what they were doing in the Continental Cup.
Yeah. I think looking again at these elite prospects, Lapaya have got a very they've got an average age of about 22 and a half. I mean, and that's I think there's 2 sort of themes when you look at the teams we're playing. I think we Panthers played more games than the other 3 put together last season. And they're all sort of quite young teams. Again, ours is the oldest by a few years. So that brings different things with it. I think what we've got to do is, for a start, we can't take anybody for granted. That's hockey cliche or sport cliche number one, isn't it? But I also think we've got to adapt our game, and we've got to play smart. I think we've got to think, right. The refereeing is different, so we've got to get used to that, and that's a bigger problem, I think, as we'll face all weekend.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point you make, actually, Paul, because that's something that I personally didn't consider. The standard of Euro officiating, we sometimes do struggle with. I think we've seen it in prior GB games, and so yeah.
I struggle with some of the officiating for people who've come from up the road. I'm not. I'm not international in this thought. I don't even like people from this country.
So, yeah, but again, yeah, it is an interesting point that you make, because when we go for the opening game against Jaca, that could be, we could slip up there because we're getting used to the officiating. Do you think that might be a danger?
It can be, and you're up against the hosts as well. Apparently the rink was about 1900, I think, but can be I think it's sold out, and you'd expect most of those to be Jaca supporters. Whether do we actually know if it's pronounced Jaca?
Oh, well,
and I did find out it's where the the Giacomo, the clothes for the larger gentleman, that actually started just a couple of miles south of there.
No, tell me the truth. Are you really? Have you made that up?
Would I do something like that? Would I make anything up?
Yeah,
I can tell you that Jaca has applied to be the host venue for the Winter Olympics 4 times, and failed every time.
Oh right, okay. Well, you do have to you'd have to get to a certain standard. I mean, the pictures that I've seen of Jaca's rink, they do look quite nice. It looks like it's it looks like a nice modern rink. But
it was only built in 2007.
Yes. So, but yeah, obviously you have to do a bit more for Olympic hosting, I would say. Right. Yes. Okay. So, all things considered, we think that Jaca are probably we're probably going to be a bit too much for them, I would say.
I think so, but you can never underestimate the home team in these situations.
No, absolutely not. Beware the home team. Beware the getting used to the officiating, bedding in period, and just play our game. I think that's sort of.
I think you've got to, but play smart. And think. Don't go in gung ho, and just stand back. Just see what the refereeing's like as much as anything.
Definitely. Right, okay, so we'll move on to Saturday. We did get a little bit into discussing this before Ant was unfortunately taken away from us. So yes, the Turkish side of Zeytinburnu, and I know there's another part to their name, and I haven't written it down. I've had I've had a hard enough time trying to learn how to pronounce the first half of it. So I'll not embarrass myself further. So that's going to be a 3:30 p.m. face-off, as far as I am aware, and again live on Premier Sports, as is the game against Jaca. So again. Research for this team has been a hard slog. I think you and I have both had a look around to see what we can find. There
is a place in hell specially reserved for whoever created the Elite Prospects website.
Well, I think part of the problem is that they don't really have a representative in either Turkey or Spain. I think.
Well, it's not that; it's all the adverts. But yes.
Oh, that as well. Yes, that as well. But yes, there is a variance of the roster for Zeytinburnu on Elite Prospects as per the IHF website. So another really bizarre one to try and have to figure out. Yeah, so the regular season, last season, they won 8, lost 2, goals for of 136, and goals against of 20. Now, that's ridiculous. I mean, I was sort of looking at the results. I mean, they're not shy of hammering teams by 25-1. You know, that is a genuine scoreline from last season's Turkish league. So it's they know how to score. But defence for some of the teams is possibly a little bit shy, unfortunately. They do appear to have a playoff series as well. They seem to have a best of 5 semi-final and final series, which Zestinburnu came out of in the final. Did it in 5 games, goals for a very modest 31, and goals against 26. Yeah. They decided to ease off on their opponents a little bit.
Well, you know how different playoff hockey is. And anything can happen in playoff hockey.
Well,
I mean, you've got to remember though, Tina, I have seen Panthers win 31-2.
Well, I'm not at the risk of offending you. You're old enough to remember that kind of scoreline, I think.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the roster from last year, they got a couple of former Ukrainian junior internationals who were putting up big numbers. So those sort of scorelines don't really surprise me. Oh, they'd also got a Canadian who, was once the most penalised player in the New Zealand Ice Hockey League. So going back to, did they play ice hockey in Turkey? They play it in New Zealand as well.
Yeah.
And he wears 99.
That's a bold choice. That is a bold move.
It's a statement number, really, isn't it? So, but again, you know, I mean, you look at, I mean, I don't think they'll have many fans with them. The rink only holds 900. It is in Europe. It's in the European half of Istanbul, but I don't think you can get much further east and still be in Europe and playing hockey at the very least.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but again, I think, you know, we really should be, you know, looking to get past those and fairly comfortably. You would hope.
Yes, and I mean, again, just sort of referencing Aaron Murphy and Paul Adey's interview from Jono earlier in the podcast before we gave up. They both feel that Panthers have got, you know, they've got enough to get past our opponents Friday and Saturday. So we will move swiftly on to Sunday with Panthers versus HK Liepāja, another 3:30 p.m. face-off. Again, live on Premier Sports. So if you haven't subscribed, you've still got time in various fashions or forms. We'll come on to that before we move on. They appear to have a team largely of Latvian players. I was sort of trying to compare the two rosters on the EIHF website and Elite Prospects, but. Generally speaking, most Latvians, there is a Lithuanian and a Russian hiding in their forward lines. But other than that, all seems to be sort of fairly local, homegrown talent. So, fair play to them. Current season results are 1-6, lost 3, goals for of 53, goals against of 17. So, not quite into the dizzy heights of the Turkish league, but they do still know how to score goals.
I mean, I think really we're looking at these to be the main threat to our progression. Really, again, a young side. I think they're affiliated with the Dynamo Riga KHL team as well. So you know, again, a very similar to situation to Riga Juniors from a couple of years ago. But you know, that Liepāja is it's the third biggest city in Latvia. Also known as the City of Winds.
The City of Winds.
City of Winds, yeah.
Well, let's hope that's got nothing to do with baked beans.
Well, I don't know. What's Latvian cuisine like? Don't tell us.
No.
But,
well,
you know,
answers on a postcard, please.
In all seriousness, the thing that worries me most about this game is the fact that it's the third one in 3 days.
Yes.
You know, we've got the hardest game last. In terms of spectacle, you know, maybe that's going to be a good thing. Because I'd expect Liepāja to beat the other two teams as well, so it could be a winner takes all situation. But given the fact that at times it seems like our players are made of glass, The fatigue situation, we're probably going to have a shorter bench than Lapire, I would guess. That does worry me slightly, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yes. Now, just on that, one positive note. One or two of you may have read the Nottingham Post article from Matt Davies. If you haven't, go and have yourself a read. He always puts out some good articles. He's recently had a series of interviews with Brian McGrattan as well. But most recently, he has written an article on Stevie Lee because there is a possibility he will be returning this weekend. And our not-so-secret source out there in Jaca has mentioned to me today that he has been on the ice training today. So there is a vague possibility we could see a return. Hopefully it's a controlled return of Stevie Lee. So that's got to be a bit of a boost for the guys if he is completely fit to play, Paul.
It has. I mean, and if he isn't completely fit to play, then you'd wonder why. You'd hope he would be used sparingly, introduced. Just to see how it goes. And the same as well. I mean, I expect the netminding duties to be shared. I don't think I'd probably only give Weekman one game maybe in the weekend. Give Packle the other two for me. Just to if Weekman is possibly injured, and it's a good opportunity for Packle to get some ice time.
Right, and just to round off our little Continental Cup foray, as it were, we've been asking for your thoughts for the last couple of days, and Panther B has got in touch with us on the cage. He says, prediction for the Continental Cup, I think we'll win all three, but encounter some penalty trouble against the Latvians. Expecting that game to be similar to when we played Riga Juniors last time. Anything less than 3 wins out of 3 will be exceptionally disappointing, so high standards there. I hope to see players like Carter, Betteridge, McGrattan and McMillan get a bit more ice time too. See if they can see if they can get a bit of scoring going to boost confidence further. That's a confident post, I would say, Paul. Would you venture to be that confident?
What do you think?
So just sort of head on the chopping block time. What do you think is going to come out of this Continental Cup tournament?
What do I think? I don't know. What do I hope? A team that's still fit. Really, I think we should have enough definitely to win 2, and you'd hope that we could win the 3rd, but I don't think it'd be as cut and dry as some think.
No, I would be inclined to agree with you. I mean, personally, from my perspective, I think at times Panthers can be the masters of their own disaster. So I think the cooler heads have to prevail, and I think as long as we do play our game, I think we've got a good chance of going on to the next round. So it would be nice, because I think going on to the next round is obviously going to bring more positive exposure to the team and the league, and that can't be a bad thing. Right, so if you want to get in touch with us, then please do so. Best way to do that at the moment while we're recording is to tweet us at Cats Whiskers TV and include the hashtag AskTCWLive. So we will leave at the Continental Cup there, and we will move on to our any other business. We'll get on to the juicy bits in a moment, but we'll sort of skim over one or two bits and bobs. 1 in, 1 out for the Blaze, who have released Darcy Zajac and have brought in 25-year-old Canadian forward Taylor Carnival. Last season he was in the DEL 2, 33 games played, 14 goals, 30 assists. So they I think the Blaze have had to do something. They've had a disappointing period. Would you agree with that, Paul?
I think so, yeah. I'm surprised maybe that they moved as quickly as they did, but that's probably comes from supporting a team that often feel never moves as quickly as you'd like them to. But yeah, I mean, they've had a string of disappointing results. Typically we haven't played them during that. But that's the way these things normally work out.
Isn't that the way?
So, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised they've moved. I think it may well be the start of something. They won't be the only ones. I could possibly see changes at Brayhead. People were saying they'd turn the corner at the weekend, but after the result against Cardiff last night, it looks like they're actually just maybe on a roundabout.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Although I will just point out we have won in the Sky Dome this season. I just want to put an exclamation point on that because it happens so rarely.
I've never seen us win in the Sky Dome.
Oh.
So I know I've asked this before. If anybody wants to pay me not to go, I'm more than happy. And if you're a Coventry fan, if you want to make an offer for me to turn up, then we'll just play the two off each other.
Oh, wow.
I've got some good news though.
Go on.
Beans don't feature heavily in Latvian food. It's more potatoes. According to this, potatoes, wheat, barley, cabbage. So it's not all good news.
Oh,
onions, egg, and pork, and fish.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So could be called the City of Wins for the reason that we think. Right. So yes, Paul Balm, fan for hire. If you want to have a word with him about his T's and C's, then then you can tweet him anytime. Right. Okay. So let's move on to the really juicy part of the week. DoPS reviews. Now there were a few that nobody really cares about. There was 5 flyers, Justin Fox, 2+10 checking from behind versus the Clan. No further action granted from that. Cardiff Devils, Jake Morissette, 2+10 checking from behind versus the Steelers. No further action coming from that. Both of those automatic reviews. Edinburgh Capitals, Mike D'Orazio, 5+ game checking to the head versus Manchester, which was upgraded to a match penalty and carried an automatic 1-game suspension, which he served last night. So he will be returning for the Caps' next game. Right, and the hot potato that is the Brayhead Clan versus the 5 Flyers. The requested review on Flyers made on Jay Rosehill was his 2-minute charging penalty, which was then upgraded to a 5+ game. Now that doesn't carry a suspension, but it does go on his record. Now I believe, Paul, and I don't know if you understand or know the procedure better than I do. I think that if there is sort of a repeat offence of the same ilk, then it builds up to a ban.
That's what's happened before.
Mm.
Whether, but one thing DoPS are very good at is ignoring precedents.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think part of the problem is that from one season to the next, we've had a consistent system for a couple of 3 seasons now, but it seems to be a different DoPS system. Year on year, it felt like at one point. Well,
yes, and to some extent, it still does, because you see a lot of the sort of the argument that goes on, and people are citing events that have happened before and the penalties that people got for that, but the precedents never seem to have any effect on the decision, the decision when it happens again. Which, I mean, I can understand a certain amount of the frustration that has been flying about, and having seen the incident as well, I can understand a certain amount of the frustration there as well.
Mm. Yes, and another incident that happened in the same game, I believe, was Callum Boyd's match penalty for a slew foot versus the 5 Flyers. Now, myself, Jono and Adam sat and watched that particular incident just before we started recording on Monday, and I think there was a collective sort of intake of breath when we saw it. Fully expected a ban for it. I don't know if you've seen it at all, Paul.
I haven't. No.
Okay.
Give me a minute.
Well, I'll continue talking about it.
You can do, yes.
If you happen to catch up before I move on, then yes. But please feel free to contribute. But yes, the ban itself. It carried an automatic tariff because of it being a match penalty, and it was upgraded and given 1 additional game. So
Boyd did actually miss last night's game, and he will be missing Saturday's game against Dundee. I mean, we all sort of said at the time it was worthy. Yeah, there it is. We all said at the time it was worthy. So I'm guessing that's you watching right now.
Yeah.
so
give
us your thoughts.
That's bad enough, but right. Yes. Well, yes. I can't see a lot wrong with the 2-game ban for that.
Yeah. So we'll come on to the final the final DoPS review or non-review, as it turned out to be, which has led to an awful lot of well, I don't know, PR, I suppose, that's come from this. You know, there's been lots of backwards and forwards in, we did this right, no you didn't, and it's what a mess this has turned into. So for anybody who's not aware of it, Fife allegedly requested a review for Jay Rosehill, and but it was apparently received after the deadline, and so didn't meet the requirements, and it didn't really meet the requirements for an automatic review, and because the request was sent in allegedly after the deadline, it wasn't looked at. Now this has led to Fife putting out a statement essentially saying, yes, we did submit it before the deadline, and I think today Todd Kelman has put out a very lengthy statement saying, no, you didn't. So he's basically saying it's a simple process, you didn't follow it, and I'm going to defend the process. Todd has also said, he accepts that the process is flawed, but it is what it is for the moment, and that's what's got to happen. So. What an absolute mess, Paul. Where do you start?
Where do you start, indeed? Which bit of the two? You have to have a cut-off, because you've got to have a rule like that. Otherwise, you'd be forever dealing with things. There's got to be you've got to get it in by then. And if Fife did, the league, the rest, the teams in the league know the rules. If they missed it, then unfortunately, there has to be a cut-off, or you could have teams abusing it by bringing up something that happened 3 months ago because they want to get that player banned for the game that they're going to play against them this weekend. I mean, you could argue that Belfast citing a Coventry player who's now been released, all of a sudden it's before they play them home and away. It makes you think. But the other thing about this, like you're saying, whatever happened to a dignified silence?
Yes, indeed. Whatever did happen to that?
Maybe. I mean, I see plenty of people who love that teams have these spats amongst themselves in public, but to me, there's a certain. I mean, maybe these are a bit different. I mean, Todd Dutiem's been in the press moaning about it, but Kelman obviously felt he needed to join in. I'm not entirely sure why, if I'm honest, but a lot of them, it's like kids calling each other names in the playground, and I just think official accounts should be better than that.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's certainly been an awful lot of questions raised about it. We did have a couple of fan thoughts sent in to us on the whole DoPS scenario. We've had one from Kenwin Jones over Twitter at Kenwin64, and he says, surely the club is at fault. They know the rules. The EIHL decide to use DoPS, so blaming DoPS seems futile.
That's what I was trying to say. It's just in a lot shorter way.
Yeah. Well, he only had 140 characters, so it was a bit difficult.
We've got about 10 minutes, so yeah.
And just another sort of aspect of it from James Whitelaw, which is at James Whitelaw 5. Utterly useless. If an incident as serious as that goes unpunished, then what is the point of DoPS?
He's got a point as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of people who have had an awful lot of good points to make about this whole scenario, and that is one thing. It's there's a train of thought that seems to be coming from a lot of people to say, why should clubs be requesting a review? Then surely something like that in a game that should be reviewed.
But something like what? I mean, Rosehill got 2 minutes. Has somebody got to sit now and, by that argument, somebody's got to sit and review every 2-minute penalty? I memean, if that's how you want, how people want it to be, or the league wants it to be, rather, then so be it. But
just to sort of bring my two penny within, that particular penalty that Rosehill got, that ended up being, I think that was a lengthy one. I don't think that was just 2 minutes. It escapes me at the moment what it was, but the charging penalty was a completely different effort altogether. But there were two different penalties, significant penalties for Rosehill that weekend. Right. There was some significance to it. I forget whether it's a game penalty or a 2+10 or something along those lines.
Yeah. But we've seen in situations like this 2-minute penalties being asked to be reviewed and then being updated. And my question is really, which is it? Is it a 2-minute penalty or is it a 5+ game? Referees are human, like it or not. And they do make mistakes. They do see things in different ways to we do. We're fans. We're far more subjective. We're far more passionate about these things. That's how sport should be, but they can't. I don't get how there can be this huge disparity, and in things that somebody that a team, whoever this shadowy group of DoPS is or are or whatever, why do they see something that different to the referee? Okay, they get to see it in slow-mo probably, or if it's Sheffield citing somebody, they get the super slow-mo machine out. But only the once though.
Well, yeah.
It's just that difference. That difference just confuses me, and it's going to frustrate. It's got to frustrate us as fans that one person thinks the game should be done this way, and there's another group who don't.
Yes, and I mean, one other thing that has sort of come from this, and like you say, the referees are human. They have to make a call based on what they see on the night, and they don't get the benefit of, shiny replays and such. So, the other sort of argument that's coming out of this is the resurgence of the four-man system argument. I've seen an awful lot of that all over my Twitter timeline for the past couple of days.
You've got to have enough officials that are good enough, though, for that.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you've got to get every club paying.
Yes,
to have four officials.
Yes, that last time the four-man system, was try. We were trying to implement it. It was. Word was that there were some clubs that didn't want to pay for that extra official. So it's like it's a similar sort of train of thought to the goal line technology. Everybody's got to buy into it. Yeah. It's got to be all or nothing. It's got to be all or nothing. So yeah, but basically it's caused an awful lot of controversy, a lot of discussion, and you would expect that the Elite League will look to maybe review and or overhaul the DoPS system in the summer next year. But as it is at the moment, we're working on a system which seems to be fundamentally flawed, and but everybody knows the rules and everybody is expected to follow them, and we can't have a one rule for one rule for another sort of effort.
Well, this is British ice hockey. It's been fundamentally flawed since I started watching in 1980.
Oh dear! And on that note, I think we'll call time on the proceedings, but not before I give you
a bit of a plug for Premier Sports, who are going to be covering the games over in Jaca this weekend. You still have time to subscribe, and there are ways to do it. You can do it through Sky, and the channel, it costs $11.99 per month for standard definition, $12.99 for HD, and that's on a recurring basis, unless you give them notice to cancel, and a £7 connection fee applies. There's no fixed contract on that. For Virgin, I believe it is $9.99. There is no setup fee. Again, don't believe that there is a fixed contract on that either. And if you don't have Sky or Virgin, Premier Player is available, and that is $9.99 for standard membership and $11.99 for premium membership, which I believe gets you on-demand services for all the sports available until the 2 weeks after the end of its respective season. So plenty of ways that you can get watching.
And I think as well, if you're a sociable type, Bunkers Hill are going to be showing the games, and I'm guessing the Legend will be as well.
Yes. So yes, if you are the sociable type and you want to go and have your little hockey bar fix, basically, because the boys are away, there is no hockey at the NIC, no Panthers hockey at the NIC this weekend. So yes, you can get yourself down to Bunkers Hill and watch those games, I think Ant did mention that one of the Panthers Hockey Live gang is going to be over there, so there will be live coverage from Panthers Hockey Live, so you can follow those as well. If the TV and the pub are not an option for you. So there's plenty of ways that you can keep track of what is going on over there. So all that is left for me to say is, he's not here, but thank you very much to Antoine Marie-Jeanne for making himself
available. You probably
available.
Can't hear you say it either.
No, he probably can't, bless him. But yeah, if he wants to listen back to everything that we've said without him, then thank you very much, Ant. It's very much appreciated, and I'm sure to make up for it, when your internet's decided it's going to behave itself again, I'm sure we'll be calling on you again. And also, thank you to my compadre for sticking with me through all of this, Paul Balm.
That's not a problem.
Oh dear. No, business as usual on Monday, when we will be looking back on all of the games. Ask TCW is still on paternity leave next week, and then next Thursday we'll be returning with the weekend review, and we'll be looking at our first Elite League action after the Continental Cup. So join us for all of that. Thank you very much, and good night.